بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. من يهدي الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear sisters, my dear daughters. Welcome back to a new episode of the biography of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, the summary lectures from the book Sealed Nectar. As a quick summary of the last lesson, we took about the story that we stopped at the time when the Prophet Muhammad since his birth and what happened since his birth and how his father died with he's still in the womb of his mother, and then after that he being born and how he was a blessing for all the people around him as a newborn baby, and also to his nurse Sayyida Lady Halima Sa'diya, that she is the one who took care of him the first 4 years of his life in the Bedouin life, as we mentioned before, and then she returned him back after the open chest event happened to him, Hadithat Shaq al-Sadr, and how he lived with his mother around 2 years, and after that his mother died on the day back from a journey to visit his uncles, and how he was actually transferred to live with his grandfather, Abdul Muttalib. And we mentioned that Abdul Muttalib was an honorable man and the leader of the tribe of Quraysh at that time in Mecca, and how he loved so much Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam and was honoring him all the time. And he, before he died, he just advised his son Abu Talib to take care of his nephew Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And we mentioned after that that Prophet Muhammad stayed with in the home of his uncle Abu Talib when he was around 8 years. When he reached 12 years, was the first journey to the Prophet with his uncle. And this is what we actually stopped last time when we mentioned that. And now we're going to see what happened during this journey. And this is what we stopped last time. We said that what happened, that there was a priest or monk, his name was Bahira, and there was a story of this priest with Abu Talib and the Prophet. While the caravan and all the journey, including the Prophet ﷺ when he was 12 years old with his uncle Abu Talib, while they were in their way, a monk called Bahira invited the whole caravan for food and drink. And he readily enough recognized the Prophet and said, while taking his hand, he told his uncle Abu Talib, "This is the master of all human. Allah will send him with a message which will be mercy to all beings." Abu Talib asked, "How do you know that?" The priest replied, "When you appeared from the direction of Aqaba," and this is Aqaba, it is a place between the Hijaz or the Arabian Peninsula and the Sham, or at that time we said the Sham, including the Jordan and Syria and Palestine. So this is the place. He said, "When you came from this place, all stones and trees prostrated themselves, which they never do except for a prophet." This is mentioned by the priest. And he mentioned, "I can recognize him also by the seal of prophethood, which is below his shoulder, like an apple. We have got to learn this from our books." He also asked Abu Talib to send the Prophet back to Mecca and not to take him to Syria for fear, or to Sham in general, for fear of the Jews. Abu Talib obeyed and sent the Prophet back to Mecca. Actually, what we can take information from this story, that the people of the book, including the Christians and the Jews, were know that in their book that there is a prophet will come, will appear. And moreover, they have the descriptions, the proper descriptions of what he looks like and what it's his characters. And this is very important because as we're going to will have inshallah in the story of Prophet Muhammad, that when he will migrate to Al-Madinah, there will be there, the Jews will be there, and how much they were denying the message of the Prophet and denying his prophethood. Although it's written clearly in their scriptures, the proper description of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Then afterwards, what happened? Prophet Muhammad started to grow up and being in the age of youth, and as the habits of that time, that he should have a job. And the first job that being mentioned about Prophet Muhammad, as he was working as a shepherd. A shepherd is a very special job, and it needs special skills and talent from the shepherd. The shepherd should, the first and the most important character of the shepherd is to be patient, because the sheep are all the time, they are not walking in flocks, and most of the times they are going here and there, they are not having a straight line or a straight path. That's why the shepherd has a difficult mission, that how to make them walk or to have a straight path where all of them will have this same direction. As if it was a training. It was a training for Prophet Muhammad how to be patient, because as we mentioned before last time, all the hardship that passed through Prophet Muhammad during his childhood time, he didn't live as a dependent life on the parents. He just he didn't have the mother of the father at the age of 6, so and started to be transferred from one home to another. We mentioned that this type of instability, or not to have a permanent, or for some time a permanent house or the parenthood, add to the experience of Prophet Muhammad, add to the experience of how to live with different people, how to live with his mother, how to live with his nurse, how to live with his grandfather, the old man, how to live with his uncle. All these gain to his experience. So the same thing for being shepherd, gain more experience of being patient, how to deal with difficult situations, that he's responsible for flock or group of sheep, herd of sheep, and these sheep, they should have a proper and direct path. After that, when he reached around 25 years, which is the age of the full youth and all of activities and enthusiasm for all the young men, he started to work in business. He started to be a businessman. He started to work in Lady Khadeeja. Actually, Lady Khadeeja, maybe this is the first time we're going to speak about her in the Seerah. Lady Khadeeja is considered to be our mother, as she is the mother of the believers, the first wife being of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, his first love. And we will, all the seerah, we will have Lady Khadeeja with us actually. Lady Khadeeja was one of the honorable ladies in Quraysh, and at the time she was a widow. She married previously before the Prophet twice, and she had 2 sons from before husband. And actually she was very she famous of her honor and of her family at that time. Also, she was rich woman. She was a wealthy woman because she inherited from the previous two husbands a lot of money, and she has to do with the business. We consider Lady Khadija is the first businesswoman in Islam, actually, because she has her business, as we mentioned before in the first lesson. The main economic support or economic activity for Quraysh or the people of Mecca came from trading during two main journeys, during the winter to Yemen and during the summer to Sham, where they took the goods from Mecca and bring another types of goods from the Sham or from the Yemen and so on. And of course, what encourages that the Hajj or the pilgrimage, where at that time people are coming from all the parts of Arabian Peninsula for doing Hajj, and so the trading will be more nourished and active at that time. So Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, when he reached around 25 years old, he started to work in the business and he started to have his own character being known in Mecca. He was known as the most honest and truthful. He's always truth teller, and he was most honest to the degree that the people who are keen about their expensive trust or expensive things just to give it to Prophet Muhammad, because they know that he will keep their trusts and he will keep their expensive or precious things in a safe hand. This is very important to be mentioned, because as we mentioned, for the habits and for the social life of those people, there was no truth, there was no honesty. Yeah, and there was a type of tribal war can be initiated anytime with a very weak reason or valueless reason. So when we are speaking about the presence of a man, that he is honest all the time and he is truth teller all the time, that means that it will be definitely he will be famous at that time. Because in such a society, in such a community, where when we are talking about morality and you just picking up the people who are having this morality, they must be popular and they must be famous. So this is what was known about Prophet Muhammad at that age. Also, he was known that he was not like all the youth at that time. He didn't go for drink wines, for example, or to go for those parties the youth went to have, or have girlfriends or all this. No, nothing being recorded before even the Ba'tha, or before the prophethood or starting to be a prophet. He didn't attend any type of these parties, or he didn't even prostrate to an idol. This is also from the things that being known by Prophet Muhammad. So at that time, she know, Lady Khadija, she knew all this information. And as a businesswoman, she is seeking for such a character to help her to raise and invest in her trading and in her money. Because actually, when you are speaking about money and working with money, you have to speak about honesty. If you are not honest with money, especially, so a lot of money will be lost. And Allah A'lam, may Allah knows that maybe she had a bad experience before with those who work with her and they were not honest enough. And that's why she was looking for an honest person to take over her trading. And this has actually happened when Prophet Muhammad started to work in her trading. And she noticed that her money, more profits, more blessing happening when he returned back from his journey. She has a hireling, or one who is assistant for Prophet Muhammad. His name is Maysara. And actually, she sent this servant with Prophet Muhammad just to observe what's happening. And this is from her intelligence. She's not like any woman. She is We mentioned she is a businesswoman. As a businesswoman, she is intelligent enough to know who is the one who will work with her money. This is number one. Number two, this is not enough. She sent one who can observe what's happening, is observer, and will tell her after they came back from the journey what's happening. So Maysara was his name. He told her about the Prophet, good manners, honesty, deep thought, sincerity, and faith. She realized that she homed at her target. Many prominent men had asked her hand in marriage, but she always spurned and refused their advances. And as we mentioned, she was a widow at that time. By time and by continuous having many journeys, and in every journey she is hearing and she's knowing about the honesty and the truthfulness of the Prophet. And she has her close friend, her name was Nafisa. She disclosed her wish. If the Prophet proposes to her, she will accept. It's, of course, we can imagine that two friends, two women friends are sitting together and they start to speak together. What's happening? What about your trading? Oh, Muhammad, he's a very nice and he's an honest and so and so. And maybe at the end of the conversation, she disclosed her wish that if he proposed to her, she will accept. So her best friend Nafisa, what she do? Immediately went, actually, because she loved her friend. She immediately went to the Prophet home and broke the good news to him. And he agreed and requested his uncles, Abu Talib and the rest of his uncles, to go to Khadija's uncle and talk on that issue. And subsequently, they were married. And it was the very successful marriage and very fruitful marriage. Also, Prophet Muhammad had his 5 children from Lady Khadeeja radiallahu anha. He has 2 boys, 6 children, 2 boys and 4 girls. Sayyida Zainab, Sayyida Fatima, Al-Zahra, Sayyida Ruqayya, Sayyida Kulthum, and Al-Qasim wa Abdullah. They are all the children that being born by their mother was a Sayyida Khadeeja. She gave him the family, she gave him the warmth, she gave him the support. She was the first one to believe in him, as we're going to have now in the coming slides. So how much love and support she gave him. And he was all the time remembering her, even after her death. Many years later, when Lady Aisha radiallahu anha, she found him spoke about her, and she was jealous from the way he spoke about her. And she starts saying she was an old lady. She was being you being compensated by a younger one, and she mean herself. So he said no. He started to mention the favors of Khadija, how she being the warmth to him, how she supported him, and she believed him, and she being the refuge to him when all the people were attacking him. So Lady Khadija radiallahu anha has a very special place in the heart of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Now we'll speak about the days are coming, and still the Prophet Muhammad is not yet have the prophethood, but still living in Mecca. And we have here a story happened about the rebuilding of the Kaaba and the arbitration issue. Rebuilding of the Kaaba. Actually, there was a heavy rain, flooding that make partial demolishing of the Kaaba happened. And people were very, people of Quraysh, of course, were very hesitated about the demolishing of the whole Kaaba and start to build it again or rebuild it again. Especially that we mentioned that few years back, there was the event of the Al-Fil, or the elephant event, Amul Fil. They saw when Abraha, the Abyssinian king, tried to demolish the Kaaba. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the flocks of the birds, ababil, that made all the army died at once. So they were afraid a little bit to how to demolish the Kaaba, although that they have the intention to rebuild it back. But actually they just think, and they had the final decision to, because they're going to do a good job, they start to do demolishing of the whole Kaaba and start to rebuild it again, and they have all the expenses from good money, halal money. It's not from any the containing usury or riba, or containing any gambling money, or money from any abnormal sources. And this gives us an idea that they know the halal and haram at that time. How some of the halal, of course, and some of the haram, but they know how to have the halal money away from any money that came by theft, or many money came by gambling, or by riba, or usually all these. They avoided all such type of money in a trial to make the whole process is a pure process. And when they finished actually the rebuilding, and each clan wanted to earn the honor of placing the black stone. Of course, we know the black stone is one of the corners when you go to the Kaaba and start making the tawaf. You will find the black stone in one of the corners of the Kaaba. So they removed it, and after finishing the final building of the Kaaba, they want to place it back in its place. And as we mentioned before, although that they have all good intentions, but because of their habits of the tribal or bloody tribal war can happen, because each tribe wants to take the honor to carry the black stone to its place. So they start to quarrel together, and maybe a war would be happen because of such thing. So fortunately, one of them, called Abu Umayyah Ibn al-Mughira, suggested that the first man to enter their gathering will decide in such matter. And Allah wills was for him to be the Prophet, alayhi salatu wassalam. The Prophet was the first one to came and pass through this gathering. And when they saw the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, they were pleased, because they know that he is the most honest and the truth teller, and they will be happy by his decision. So Prophet Muhammad, to solve this problem, he ordered them to bring a mantle, which he spread on the ground and placed the stone in its center. And he then asked the representative of the different clans among them to lift the stone all together. When it had reached the proper place, then Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam laid it in the proper position with his own hand. So, see, the solution was very simple, but it needs a wise man. It needs a wisdom. So the wisdom here from Prophet Muhammad, that he prevented the approximately a war will come, except for unless he came at the proper time. Prophet Muhammad, by his wisdom, he prevented this tribal bloody war to happen. After all these good things they did and all the efforts in rebuilding, but see how much they were very easy to be irritated or to be stimulated to have a war. And this is give us about sometimes the solution will be a simple solution, and it could prevent many other complicated consequences. And this is the wisdom. The wisdom is try to solve the problem with the simplest form of solution, and don't try to make it more difficult even in choosing the solution for any problem passing through you. Then after that, days are passing and passing. Prophet Muhammad still in Mecca with his wife, with her love and with her support about her husband, who is caring about her and her trading, and how she feel the warmth and secure, to be secure with him. Uh, Prophet Muhammad was thinking all the time that idols is not the proper is not a proper deity to worship. There must be a true other true God to worship. He didn't prostrate once, even in whole his life, to an idol. He saw many unpleasant things happened in Quraysh in Mecca, and he was wishing to find the truth. And to do that, privacy and detachment from the impurities of life were the Prophet's souls to come into close communication with the unseen power that lies behind all aspects of existence in this infinite universe. It was a rich period of privacy which lasted for 3 years. Actually, it was not, it was a long time, 3 years just for thinking. Prophet Muhammad, before having the message or before having to start his mission as a prophet, he spent 3 years just for thinking. In Arabic means at-ta'ammul wa tafakkur. And even there is a worship, we have it in Islam called the worship of thinking. And this is what's happening when you are left alone in a park. You are not talking to anyone, you are just hearing your silence or hearing the sounds of the birds or of the trees or the leaves of the trees. This is only what you need to hear. This is the sounds of the creatures around you, and you sound yourself. At that time, when you try to have this type of worship, you will feel by this time you are spending that you are more calm and you have a more serenity and quietness. Usually when you are away from all other things in the life. So this is what's supposed to happen by Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. He spent that time in thinking in the cave of Hira. Cave Hira or Ghar Hira is present up till now in a huge mountain around the Kaaba. If anyone goes to that mountain, to that cave, he can see the Kaaba from that cave, because this cave, it has like an opening, and this opening he can see the Kaaba, and he was all the time looking for the Kaaba and all the time wants to know the truth, wants to know the answers. And this is what's being mentioned in Surah Al-Duha, وَوَجَدَكَ ضَالًّا فَهَدَى, which means Allah found you lost or losing and then he guides you. Some people said it's here lost doesn't mean that he was in the sense or in the losing of the sense. No, in the losing of he wants to know the truth. Who is the creator? What is the truth? Also at that time, we want to remember our mother Khadija radiallahu anha. She helped him a lot. She was not that type of selfish wife that she wants all the time her husband to just stick to her. She noticed that Prophet Muhammad wants to go for alone, for thinking and for trying to pondering what's happening, and she noticed, of course, that he is not like any other man. He's different from other men. So she helped him. She was the one who prepared for him his food and his drink. And they been mentioned in the Sirah that he stay for maybe 2, sometimes 3 or 5, from 3 to 5 days in the cave of Hira, and then come back to his home, and then go back to cave of Hira. And especially in Ramadan, the month of Ramadan was present at that time, of course, but there was no fasting at that time. But he used to increase the days staying alone in the cave of Hira. So as we mentioned, this is for about 3 years happened. After the 3 years, one of those nights that Prophet Muhammad is sitting alone in the cave of Hira, and of course it was not lighting much, it is a dim light, and there is a slight opening that he watched the Kaaba from, start to have the first meeting between the heaven and the earth. The first meeting between the angel Jibril alayhi salam as angel and Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. Unexpectedly, and this is narrated by Prophet Muhammad himself in the hadith, the truth, the angel came to him in Hira and said, recite. I cannot recite. Prophet Muhammad replied. Then the Prophet Muhammad described, then he took me and squeezed me vehemently, strongly, violently, and then let me go and repeated the order, recite. I cannot recite, said I. And once again he squeezed me and then let me go till I was exhausted. Then he said, recite. Prophet Muhammad said, I cannot recite. He squeezed me for a third time and let me go and said, read. Read in the name of your Lord, who has created man from a clot. Read. And your Lord is the most generous. Who taught with Ben? Taught the man which he knew not. Then the angel Jibril left him. Actually, the Prophet was trembling with fear. This is the first time happening, his meeting with an angel. When an angel with all the type of the creation of the angels came directly touching the human being, it will be very difficult for the human being with all the constituents of his body to being touched by another creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with another constituents, with another components, and then attach it to him and squeeze him and then left him, squeeze him and left him, and then make for him like this the first 5 ayahs of Surah Al-Alaq. And the scholars actually said this is the first 5 ayahs revealed from Quran by Surah Al-Alaq. This is the first of the Quran. Most of the scholars said that this is the first of the Quran came revealed on Prophet Muhammad. This is the first 5 verses. Prophet, of course, repeated these verses after him, and he was trembling with fear. And this stage, he just ran away from the cave of Hira during the night, trembling and full of fears, and came back to his home, to his wife. His wife Khadeeja was very surprised and astonished, and he started to tell her, cover me, cover me, cover me. And she was actually astonished and surprised, and she was fear about Prophet Muhammad, and he also was trembled, and both of them was in a case of astonishing and surprising. And she started to have many actions, Lady Khadeeja, and she started to mention many things to Prophet Muhammad to make him calm. And moreover, she did an action. Lady Khadeeja in this situation is giving us an example when the wife is supporting her husband, not only by talking to him, but she did also support him by action. what Lady Khadeeja supported Prophet Muhammad by actions and by her telling to him what she told him and what she did for him. And more than that, inshallah, this is what we're going to know next time. سبحانك الله بحمدك لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.